What's going on, everybody? Look at my first slide. We all ready there? All right, so I figured to get a little music going on here. Just let's get things started a little bit here. It's been a great morning so far. Is everybody feeling okay? Looks like a pretty packed room in here. Some familiar faces, some bald guys. That's good. That's why I'm wearing the hat, so to distinguish myself a little bit. So I'm a nerd, as you probably may have read already, or why am I here, right? I'm a nerd. I want to thank Chick and the 4A's for having me. Yes, as Tim said a moment ago, that we're going to be launching something called CreateTech Masters. It's going to be some sort of a podcast or video podcast or content series, I guess you call them now. Not sure exactly what that format's going to be yet. We're still working on it. I think one of the passions I have is talking about technology, talking about the art of it, talking about the people that made it, and more so talking about how you can actually sell it and get people to actually buy these ideas, right? A couple of the questions we're going to get into during this content series, which you're not going to see the content series today. We're going to be talking to two amazing artists that we're going to have two very short interviews with. One of the two questions I have is, what is creative technology, and what is an agency these days, right? This is the 4A's, right? Association that helps advertising agencies. But in this day and age, I don't know what the F an advertising agency is. It's dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. All the elves want to be dentists now, and it's a crazy time. You've got consulting agencies that want to be creative agencies, big consulting agencies that are buying creative agencies, media agencies that are hiring and staffing creatives. I don't know what's going on. I think it's incredibly diverse, but it's a great opportunity for all of us in the business, I think. I'm a cautious optimist, but I think there are some great opportunities. One of the problems we have is that your big holding companies that we all know and love, your Omnicoms, IPGs, Publicis, et cetera, they're for-profit organizations. They're not charities, and one of the problems and opportunities I've always found for anyone that's trying to do anything innovative or sell anything different is that you're sometimes met with obstacles. Now, I don't know how to overcome those obstacles yet. This content series may just be self-serving for me to figure out how the hell you actually sell through some of these ideas. I see some folks in the audience who have done a pretty good job of it so far. As we mentioned earlier, as one of the earlier speakers said, he was talking about the biome, all right? A shameless plug for that book that's being sold out front. Get yours today. They're free. Available for everybody here today. The DNA of your organization has to be one that is supportive of this type of work that we're going to be talking about today with these two artists. A lot of organizations don't have that in their DNA, and I think sometimes when you hire a team, you expect that they're going to be change agents or silver bullets, but the reality is if it's not in the DNA of your organization, you're not going to be able to change. You're not going to be able to innovate. As a matter of fact, I think innovation is a dirty 10-letter word. You can actually go to dirty10letterword.com on your phone right now. It's a fun little game you could play where you can generate a little word salad that you've seen probably a lot of pundits use in the past. I'm not a huge fan of that word. I know it's a very popular word. This is a great event. I kind of think this is, a great time for industry. I think this is an opportunity where, academia is meeting capitalism. We have this great tension between wanting to do great work and talk about great work and the science. And then we have the capitalism side that, again, these are for-profit companies that we are, for the most part, working for. I've worked for. I am not an academic. I am a nerd, but I've been programmed to try to create what I can create with my background and try to get a brand to buy it. Over the last couple of years, I've been involved with several large pitches for global brands. I can't go into the details of those right now, but the brief that came to us was, we want TV, we want a global campaign, and we want TV and banners. Well, where's the room for the stuff that we want to do in this room? I don't know. That's the struggle, right? That's the great opportunity. You can be frustrated at it, but you can also kind of see that as an awesome opportunity. So, moving on, later this year we're going to be launching this content series called CreateTech Masters. It's going to be longer than the format is today, and we're hopefully going to have the opportunity to really dig in and talk to some artists and really get to know them. Think inside the actor's studio, right? So, talk about the artists. We have Ashley and Sam here today. I'm just going to give a quick little warm-up. Ashley Baccus-Clarke is from Hyphen Labs. Hyphen Labs is an international team of women of color synthesizing technology, art, science, and the future. Please stick around and stay in this room for her talk. She'll be coming up next. They just did a great project with Missing Pieces, which is a great independent production company located here in NYC. They partnered on the amazing project for National Security Council where they carved thousands and thousands of heads into little pills. I definitely recommend you look that up. You probably are familiar with that project. That's an amazing piece. I'm not sure if she's going to be talking about it today, but I definitely recommend you look that up. After that, we will be taking a break. Then we're going to have Sam Snyderheld from Media Monks. He's going to go deep into how you can become a techno wizard. I'm not going to go into Media Monks. I'm sure you probably know them very well. If not, definitely Google them. They've been around 20 years. Last year they partnered with Sir Martin Searle's S4 Capital, so definitely going to be on the lookout for fun things that happen with them. And these are going to be 2 short sets. Again, Ashley followed by Sam. I'm going to pass it over now, but I just want to just give you a quick heads up about the content series we are launching called CreateTech Masters. So thank you all very, very much, and please give a long applause. We have to do a little bit of techno changeover for Ashley Baucus-Clarke.
Oh, it's already up there. Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Thank you for having me this morning. As I was introduced earlier, my name is Ash Baucus-Clarke, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that I do at Hyphen Labs, and then talk a little bit about some studio-directed projects. I guess after we can talk about some of the other commercial creative work that we do, but today I want to talk about the brain game, because we're very interested in neuroscience and neurotechnology and how that is guiding sort of the technical landscape that we're in. So first, Hyphen Labs, these are my 2 co-partners, Carmen Aguilar-Wedge and Ejay Tongle. So we are a group of women of color who are artists, scientists, technologists, working at the intersection of art, emerging technology, creativity, and just kind of everything in between. And we came together about 4 years ago. Carmen and Ejay started the company in 2014, and I joined in 2016. And a little bit about my background is I started my career as a molecular biologist and did that for a really long time. And then I went and did brand marketing at Warby Parker. So I have kind of a wide ranging career. And Carmen and Ejay are also scientists and architects, and that's our background, and the way that we approach our creative process is drawing on those very technical backgrounds and infusing our art practice with it. So I don't know how many of you guys saw the description for this sort of talk, but I'm going to be talking about brain entrainment and what that means as far as the work that we do. So when I talk about brain entrainment, it's a process of using light technology, sound, installation, and other neurotechniques to train your brain to do something. And so we're interested in how virtual reality plays into this paradigm. And we created a project a few years ago called Neurospeculative Afrofeminism. And it's a mouthful. It's a 4-part project using virtual reality, speculative object design, cognitive impact research, and human-centered design to look at the roles, contributions, and expectations of Black women in neuroscience. And we started this project given our background. You know, so often we were the only women of color in the room, and we wanted to make a platform to encourage other young girls who look like us to see themselves in emerging technology, because that wasn't the case in virtual reality when we started doing research into making this project. So I'm going to show you a little teaser. Actually, this is my old presentation. Bear with me, I'll go through this. So I mentioned that we created a roster of objects. So we created these things, and they range from a transparent sunscreen to an earring modeled after door knocker earrings from hip hop. I don't know how many of you guys are into hip hop culture, but we wanted to make an earring that was audio and video enabled, so you could start recording with the touch of a button and then upload that footage to the cloud. And we made it because we saw that the phone has become a weapon, especially as young Black men, young Black women are killed extrajudicially by the police. We wanted to make something that was both a design provocation, but had a built-in functionality to bring awareness to what's going on. We created a visor, and then we created a scarf that confuses computer vision algorithms. And I'm going to show you kind of how that scarf works. Here are the earrings. So Miss Whoopi Goldberg saw this scarf at actually Tribeca. So we debuted this project at Sundance. And what it does is it has a number of faces on it, and it confuses a computer's algorithm, and it tricks it into thinking that your face is also the faces on the scarf. So it overloads the system, acting as a camouflage. And we created this in collaboration with our friend who's a privacy artist named Adam Harvey. And so the most speculative object we created are called the Octavia electrodes. I don't know, how many of you have heard of Octavia Butler? Okay, cool. So we named this technology after her, and it's a reimagination of a technology in neuroscience that exists called transcranial stimulation. And so this is where the brain game part comes in. So when we were looking at these technologies and thinking about the conversation around how people are optimizing themselves and using neuroenhancements, be that technology or pharmaceuticals, to enhance themselves and give them a comparative advantage. Think of coders in the Silicon Valley using these things to optimize themselves and help them perform better. We were like, what, this sounds interesting. Like if you had a tool to train your brain, wouldn't you want access to that? And so there's a number of consumer grade technologies on the market, but when you look at them, if you have a lot of hair or curly hair or locks like I do, you can't really wear them. So we wanted to remake it and infuse it into hair braiding techniques and create a story around it. So this is where the VR comes in. So we created a hair salon, and you think that you're going to get your hair done, but you're really going to get your brain optimized. So in virtual reality, you're embodied in the body of this young girl. And we did that because we've been reading a lot of neuroscience papers that show if you embody someone in the body of a Black avatar in virtual reality and take them on some type of journey, they can feel a sense of presence or going through that experience as this avatar. So we wanted to play with that and look at the cognitive impact of whether or not showing someone an empowering story about Black women while they're embodied in a Black avatar would then translate into the real world. So we showed people this 5-minute experience where they go in and they meet our main character named Brooke. She's a world-renowned neuroscientist who had to go into hiding, and she started this lab because she's been working on a speculative AI at a company who took her work and used it for nefarious means. So she's trying to create a world in which she makes amends, but also grooms the next generation. So this is our maternal figure. Her name is Naima. She's the venture capitalist. She's the one who's funding Brooks's research. And when you look into the mirror, this young girl doesn't know how she got there, but you go through the mirror and you lose your body, and you go through this vision quest where all old media representations of Black women fall into the lava, and you meet 3 new representations, and they have a message for you. And then you come out, and then you're back into the lab, and you've been transformed. And so when you take the headset off, we're also installation designers, so we've created the space around you. So for those of you who have done virtual reality, sometimes you put a headset on, and you're in this beautiful world, and then you take it off, and you're in a black box. Well, we didn't want our audience to have to experience that. We wanted to ease them back into the world and get them to question what is reality. So here's a trailer of it. So back to the brain entrainment, we wanted to make an experience to help us train our brains to understand that we can be and do anything that we want to be, and we wanted to create our own world while doing it. And so virtual reality is a technology to help train your brain and to help implant memories or implant ideas into other folks that are empowering and uplifting is something that we use throughout the course of our work. And so I'm going to end on there, but I have a lot more slides. We're actually working on part 2 of this in a residency at the MIT Media Lab because they're very interested in how socialization or the people that we encounter when we're young, how that informs the way that we engage with others as we age. So thank you so much.
All right, let's take a seat for a quick second. I'm going to ask a couple questions, then we'll open it up to the
okay.
audience, all right?
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Let's see.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, obviously, that content we saw was a immersive experience. We unfortunately don't have, if you look under your chairs, you will not find a Oculus Go or other like product. Unfortunately, that's not how we are rolling today. But if people wanted to get that, how would they be able to demo it?
Yeah, so it's available on Oculus, the Oculus store. So we have 2 versions. One's for mobile. So if you have an Oculus Go, you can just download it and play it on your phone through the headset. If you have like a more robust setup, it's also available for Oculus Rift. And the difference is in the Oculus Rift, you can control the avatar's head. So it gives you a sense of agency over the avatar, which is really nice because it immerses you in the experience further when you think that you're actually controlling what this avatar is doing.
Production timing on that, how long did it take?
It was really quick. So we had this idea in the summer of 2016, and we really wanted to apply to Sundance New Frontier Lab, and the application for that was due in August, I think. So we applied, and we didn't think we were going to get in, but when we got in, we didn't have any money to create this. So VR can be expensive if you need to hire programmers. Edjay actually is really good with 3D software and technology, so she knew how to do a lot of like the environmental stuff. So that was quick. It took I tell people it took us 6 months to find funding for it, but only like 3 weeks to build the VR.
Don't tell everybody it took 3 weeks because they're gonna have a false.
I know they're gonna
sense
have a
of
false,
how long
and
it takes.
that's like lighting a fire under us to get it out and to be a part of this opportunity.
Well, I even think something
had.
like that, you don't have to invest in it being photoreal, right? Like you can communicate a lot by just what we saw up there.
Right. Well, so the avatars have the visors over their face.
Right.
So that was one of the objects that we created with our friend, and that helped us get not have to animate the avatars' faces. Or do facial motion capture, which is really expensive, and it just kind of looked cool. Yeah. So we could, all of the objects that we created, they're all functioning. We'd have them in the installation, but we also use the digital versions of them inside of our experience. It was really interesting because one of our friends has a data analytics company that uses a technology to look at where people are gazing at in VR. And he showed that a lot of the people were looking at the objects because they had just engaged with them in the space. And so he saw that they're looking at the earring for this long, or they're looking at the scarf for this long, but we had just changed and remixed what their function was in our world building.
Yeah. Making shit is hard.
Yeah.
And it's I think what you guys were able to achieve is fantastic. I think the medium being used like this serves a much better purpose than perhaps a first-person shooter or something along those lines, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially in VR, it can be dangerous, right? Because, especially for kids, I was just talking to a friend about this study, because their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. You put a headset on, and when you're watching TV, you have peripheral vision, so you understand that something isn't real, right? But if you put a headset on, you lose that peripheral vision. And for kids, they don't understand that what they're seeing isn't real. Yeah. And so when I said memory implantation, that's what's happening. And it can be used for like shootout games, and we have like a problem with school shooting and violence, or it could be used to do something empowering. And I think we have a responsibility for that.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get into this?
Well, so I'm interested in neuroscience, and I wanted to do something in VR, and my two friends had an experiential design company, and I traded my marketing skills and writing ability and really learned on the job, I guess, to do some of these more technical things, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So it was mostly curiosity and understanding that VR is like in such a nascent stage right now that you can enter into it and do whatever you want because the guidebook hasn't been written, and that really appealed to me.
You're helping write it now, like
right.
This is helping to define a very worthwhile application for this medium.
Yeah, and like that pioneering really is interesting for me, especially being from a community where in film it was always us having to play catch up, and never really controlling the distribution or the content, really. So
awesome. Do we have time for at least one question?
I would love to ask you a question.
Sure.
This is a fascinating presentation.
Thank you.
I love your point about the reality, the messing with people's sense of reality. I'm wondering if you see the same sort of neurospeculative and neuroscience benefits to, I wonder if you see the same sort of neurospeculative and neuroscience benefits to augmented reality at R. Have you experimented with that and seen any kind of benefits there?
We're playing with that right now, but so when you think about augmented reality or mixed reality, it's overlaying, what's actually there. You don't have someone's undivided attention the way you do in VR. So I do think, that it does impact our brains in some type of way to see something that's like a digital asset projected out into physical space, but I don't think it's as impactful or encoded as VR can be. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very interesting, XR is interesting.
One more, keep your hands up if you do have a question. Awesome.
Oh,
thank you.
What?
Thank you.
Very cool.
All right.
I do have a quick question. With you and your, sorry, on this side. With you and your partners, it feels like you're looking at the future, and you have a lot of background in science and technology, and you can really manipulate what people do and what they think.
Yeah.
Do you talk a lot about the ethics of your innovations? And if so, what advice do you give us in heading down those paths where we have to think about what it does to people, and how do we approach that topic of ethics?
That's a very good question. And the ethical framework has to be built simultaneous to the evolution of these technologies. We can't go back and then build the ethics around it once it's, once the cat is out of the bag. So I think really working with the communities that these technologies are going to impact the most, like Black communities, communities of color, we're overrepresented as far as early adoption for technology, yet we don't get invited into the rooms to build it out. It's like someone else is building this for you. So with us, we wanted to make this experience, but we had the opportunity to bring people into the room and say, is this something that you actually need? If so, how would you use this technology? What would you want to see? Having these focus groups and thinking about why we're using virtual reality. Is it to sell something? Is it for placement of products? Things like that. I'm not completely against that, but there has to be some sort of trade-off where people are building the things that they want to see. So we create the technology and the hardware, and then, you know, get the community activation part of it lined up.
We have a question over here.
Who is the target audience for your virtual reality film, and how are you getting it to them?
Well, our target audience is everyone, but I'll narrow it down. So just, you know, kind of taking it wide and then honing the focus. We thought our target audience was people that came to film festivals because we wanted to do research outside of academia and in public spaces. So, you know, getting people to think deeper about the impact that they're having. But what we've seen, because we've been on the road with this project for the last 2 years and like speaking at universities and in community spaces, is this is for young women of color who, and young men, you know, non-binary folks who really don't see themselves represented in the technology, but they know how to use a computer, or they want to learn how to do it. And so we're giving them the tools and creating a platform so that they can connect with other people to do that. And our next goal is to create a pipeline where we're partnering with organizations to be a bridge, because so often we talk about diversity and inclusion initiatives. You know, we have workshops, we have heads of D&I there, but really those things haven't worked. And so, you know, if we can create some sort of like glue where we're the people that are translating, because we have experience in corporations and experience in you know, academia and experience in the communities that we're serving, having them come in and, you know, have some sort of partnership and ecosystem. So yeah, our target audience is those 3 buckets, and it looks different, you know, when we're talking to each.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Alexandra and Ashley.